Hey guys, this is a re-upload of a part of a much longer video that I uploaded a couple months ago, titled Minecraft Stone Age. That video didn't quite turn out how I wanted it to, but I thought this section was really fun, so I figured I'd upload it on its own so that people don't have to sit through 20 minutes of filler, essentially. Conduits are often compared to ocean beacons. While beacons and conduits have many similarities, I don't think that's entirely accurate. The water-breathing and night vision effects of a conduit are very reminiscent of beacon effects, and the rare prismarine blocks used as power surely resemble the rare minerals and metals used to power beacons. The difference is in the nature of the conduit. A beacon appears to be a mystical item similar to an enchantment table in many ways. There's clearly some magic or something involved in the inner workings, but it's simply a Minecraft block with very unique properties. In contrast, the conduit appears to be alive in a different way than a beacon. An activated conduit presents itself as an undulating eye that spins the water around it. Remember that spinning motion. Hold tight, we're about to go way off the deep end, no pun intended. I'll also be reading a lot of Icelandic and Norwegian words for the next few minutes, so excuse the pronunciation. The achievement for activating a conduit in the Bedrock edition of Minecraft is titled Moskstraumen. This is the only in-game reference to a real-world location as far as I can tell. The Moskstraumen is an ocean current off the coast of Norway characterized by some of the strongest eddies and whirlpools in the world. The possible link between Minecraft conduits, Moskstraumen, and Norse mythology is a pretty fascinating rabbit hole that I'm going to take us down. On the Wikipedia page for Moskstraumen, it mentions that the Old Norse poems known as Edda reference the Moskstraumen. This piqued my interest. If you don't know about the Poetic Edda, it is a compilation of Old Norse poems that originally found in the canon of Norse mythology. It consists mainly of a manuscript called the Codex Regius. Written around the 13th century, this manuscript is often the only surviving source for many of these incredibly important poems. Although many of these poems were likely just retellings of even older stories, the importance of Eddic poems cannot be understated. The Prose Edda is a textbook written in the 13th century, believed to have been written by an Icelandic historian named Snorri Sturluson. I mention both because the Poetic Edda is a compilation of the true origins of Norse myths, while the Prose Edda is an extremely early history book that covers much of Norse mythology founded in the Poetic Edda. Alright, so moving on. I couldn't find mention of which Edda mentioned Moskstraumen anywhere on the internet. I ended up having to read the synopsis of every section of the Codex Regius before narrowing it down to the Prose Edda. The third section of the Prose Edda, Skaldskaparmal, turned out to be the one that very likely makes reference to Moskstraumen. The only website with the full English translation is a little bit shaky, but I cross-referenced it with an Icelandic transcription from a reliable source using Google Translate. Everything seemed to check out other than some strange paragraph formatting. This is where it gets interesting. I found a passage describing the story of Grottosonger. This story describes a great-grandchild of Odin named King Frodi, king of modern-day Denmark. According to the legend, King Frodi hired two inhumanly strong servant women named Fenja and Menja. He hired them because he had been given a magic mill named Groti that could make any material appear out of the mill grinder. The problem was that the mill was so large that no human could turn it, but Fenja and Menja had inhuman strength that allowed them to turn it. He ordered them to grind gold from Groti, constantly with no time for rest. I can't exactly decipher what happens next with the questionable translation, but a so-called Sea King named Mysinger eventually comes along and kills Frodi, plundering his riches. I'm not totally sure what a Sea King is, but I assume it means he holds some power over marine travel. It might be a pirate or a military leader of a rivaling country, I'm not exactly sure. In any case, Mysinger took Fenja, Menja, and Groti onto his ship, forcing them to grind salt continuously, in a similar fashion to how King Frodi ordered them to grind gold. This time, though, the massive amount of salt caused the ship to sink because it was too heavy. To quote the last lines of the story, "And from that time, there has been a whirlpool in the sea where the water falls through the hole in the millstone. It was then that the sea became salt." I was skeptical about whether this was actually the passage referenced in the Wikipedia article, but I did find confirmation on a website called GermanicMythology.com that Moskstraumen is often referenced as the location of this millstone whirlpool. I don't know how reliable that is, but it's enough for me to assume that the location is at least affiliated with this specific myth. Okay, so basically, to recap, this magic millstone that creates rare materials sank a ship and caused the biggest whirlpool known to man, Mosk Straumann. Whew, alright, now let's connect some dots. We'll start with connections that hold a lot of merit. Mosk Straumann is obviously connected to the Minecraft conduit in some way, as evidenced by the achievement name. The conduit has a spinning motion, but nothing grand like a whirlpool, so this connection doesn't make a ton of sense at face value. That being said, the Mosk Straumann is often referenced in old literature as the Navel of the Ocean. Navel of the Ocean bears a large resemblance to the name Heart of the Sea. It's entirely possible and even likely that this is the sole reason the achievement was titled as such. But the myth of Grotsonger does seem to tie in very well. Not only is this myth heavily associated with Mosk Straumann, it also fits in with Minecraft really well. I'm gonna throw something out there. What if the Heart of the Sea has to be kept in a buried treasure chest because it can't be kept on the ship? Remember, in the myth, the magic millstone Grody sank the last ship it was on. The spinning around a conduit would resemble the spinning of a millstone a little bit more closely than that of a whirlpool. The connection between Grotsonger and Minecraft Shipwrecks is weak at best. But the connection between Grotsonger and Mosk Straumann, on the other hand, seems to be very well established in historical Norse mythology. Mosk Straumann seems to have been a fascination for pre-modern authors to write about. Historia Norwegi, a history of Norway written in the 12th century, around the same time as the Prose Edda, references Mosk Straumann saying, "Here to the north lies the very deep fjord which encloses within itself Charybdis, Scylla, and inescapable whirlpools." These whirlpools were confirmed to be in reference to Mosk Straumann by historian Lionel D. Parabo in a paper about Scandinavian pre-modern literature. Charybdis and Scylla are sea monsters from Greek mythology, implying once again that Mosk Straumann is heavily associated with mythology. Is it a stretch to say that if Minecraft developers had Mosk Straumann in mind while adding the Heart of the Sea, there's some connection to myths from the region? I'm not saying the Heart of the Sea is Grody, or that a conduit is some kind of contraption made to harness the divine powers of the magic millstone. I'm just saying that maybe there's some concepts from the story of Grotsonger that played a role in the development of the extremely unique Minecraft item. For the sake of fun, let's throw out some totally theory-crafting BS as well. Grindstones are very similar in concept and form to a millstone. Grindstones have been shown to have magical properties within the Minecraft universe, stripping enchantments off of enchanted gear. Buried treasure chests contain large amounts of gold and other precious materials along with the Heart of the Sea. Remember that in the myth, King Frodi ordered that Grody grind gold. I don't know, this is all just food for thought.